Legendary warriors. The powers that created us now want us all extinguished. We must join forces, or else forever be their slaves. For today, in the name of freedom, we take the battle to them. Let's roll.
Here in moments.
The ultimate gala spectacle.
Holy Mother of God on earth and in heaven at the exact same time.
You want a piece of me? You got it!
We now know why Nancy Pelosi is still in Washington. The House Minority Leader telling reporters she was ready to call it quits if Hillary Clinton won the election.
Really shocking that somebody like Donald Trump could be president of the United States. That motivated me to stay. Again, I would have been gone by now if she had won.
So emblematic of the Democratic resistance altogether. Well, we just have to resist. That's why I'm here. Instead, Pelosi decided to continue leading Democrats in their fight against President Donald Trump and the Republicans.
More now of my sit-down in New York with Kellyanne Conway, and we began with a New York Times piece on the flack she gets as a woman. Let me read you a headline. Sexist political criticism finds a new target, Kellyanne Conway. That's from the New York Times. The story says, what powerful political woman is mocked for her clothes, is the target of pictures on Twitter depicting her as haggard, and is routinely called a witch and a B-word. New York Times wrote a piece saying you were being unfairly attacked on sexist.
The B-word's not beautiful.
I just was not going to read it. What's your reaction to this being in the New York Times saying that you're being unfairly attacked because you're a woman?
I was asked about that before I had read the article, actually, and I'm very heartened by the article. I did not participate in it, but I would note for you that a number of well-known Democratic, prominent liberal women that we know, like Karen Finney and Jen Palmieri, who worked very hard to elect Hillary Clinton and who I commend as you know, obviously very good consultants and worthy political opponents, they came to the defense of why a woman would be talked about in these terms. But you should also recognize that a lot of those comments come from women. And I just don't, I've turned off a lot of it. And if I don't read most of the praise and I don't read most of the criticism, like literally most of it, it keeps you in balance.
That's a good survival strategy.
Well, it's not just survival, it's prospering. I'm there to serve the president who's there to serve the American people. I'm not there to read about myself.
Part of the mockery, and this came up in a lot of these articles, including the Times, was, you know, that infamous photo of you taking a picture on the Oval Office couch and you were trying to get everybody in the room, historically black colleges.
So I brought into the room.
Right. And then Democratic Congressman Cedric Richmond made a crude sexual joke about the position you were in. The women's groups didn't exactly come to your aid.
The silence was deafening. But remember, I'm pro-life. I am a high-ranking female White House official for President Donald Trump.
What about Nancy Pelosi? She was asked about it on CNN.
Very disappointed in...
said she didn't know, and she kind of...
Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi. No wonder she was a two-term speaker, and a majority of the voters were female across the country, and they didn't want her to be speaker anymore. I was very disappointed in her. She either was not telling the truth, that she wasn't aware of it, or it's not important enough to her caucus that they would bring this to her attention and ask her, this person who says every day, this one should recuse, that one should resign, that one should go be impeached. She had nothing to say about a member of her, a Democratic congressman, a member of her caucus, issuing such a tasteless, sexist joke, which a lot of liberals in the room did not think was funny and brought to my attention immediately. She and I went to the same small Catholic women's college, the nation's oldest all-women's Catholic college, Trinity in Washington, D.C. And that small women's Catholic college can boast the first female Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, the first successful female presidential campaign manager. And the way they treat the two of us, the president of the college, is unbelievable. And you would think some of the alumni at All Women's Catholic College would maybe be pro-life or maybe object to Nancy Pelosi's abortion anyone, anytime, anywhere stance. But this is what happens when you refuse to call yourself a doctrinaire feminist, because in my view, you have to be pro-abortion, you have to be anti-male. Look at all these commercials on TV about men. They can't open up the garbage bag unless their wife shows them how. I mean, we treat men like they're fools. I don't look at my husband, my son, my cousins, my colleagues that way.
Let me jump in our remaining time. When you were off TV for about a week, CNN ran a story based on anonymous sources saying the White House had sidelined you. What did you think about that?
I didn't think much about it.
And then you went back on a bunch of TV interviews.
I did, and I am invited on TV routinely. I've been a very loud voice since the transition, and it's all out there, so anybody can pull the clips and the quotes of having our cabinet secretaries out there, our vice president, our president, other voices, and having less of us on TV. Why? It's not the campaign. The opponent is not. It's not a political opponent. It's a proactive agenda, and having us because the president is the main messenger. And if I can go out and reinforce the message on his behalf, I'm happy to do it. And he likes seeing me out there. One day I'm going to go get one of those fancy made-for-TV facelifts that women of a certain age seem to get on TV, and I'll make sure everyone knows about it, and you'll know ahead of time why I'm on for 3 or 4. Why I'm gone for 3 or 4 weeks. I'm sidelining myself.
Now, this is not a question that gets asked of men, but you brought this up on CBS Sunday Morning when you said that the one thing that would cause you to at least think about leaving the White House is your 4 kids who are still here in New York, haven't yet moved to Washington. Is it harder than you thought working for the president and being a mom?
No, it's not hard at all. In fact, it's more rewarding than I could have ever imagined, because the impact he can have on lives and will is truly remarkable, and it's why I'm there.
But it's only 24 hours in a day, and you've got children who need you as well. And
that's right. They
do
need their moms, and you're making me too accessible and relatable now. And remember, I'm a W, a witch, and a B, because now you're making me too nice. It's like, oh God, she has kids who love her. But it gives you great perspective, and Donald Trump is somebody who, as president, is the same as he was at the Trump Corporation, and what he's done in the cabinet, elevating women to high positions in his campaign. Certainly, he elevated women in New York real estate at a time when other men just did not. It's a very comfortable thing for him, and he is always very gracious and very aware of the fact that I have children. He knows it, and he's a very family-friendly, very pro-woman boss to have, and I'm very proud of my children as well, because they and family members, and certainly my husband, are working overtime to accommodate a situation that's unusual for us. And Hallie, hats off to my male colleagues who also have kids, but they're the first ones to admit to me it's different for the mom. It just is different. I mean, some of my male colleagues ask, hey, how are the kids? I'll say, I don't know. Haven't seen them before. I don't have that. Sometimes I'm up on FaceTime until midnight helping with slide presentations or reviewing the spelling list, and that's okay. And that's the answer as to why I look haggard too, you haters. I'm helping with 6th grade math, and I'm proud of it.
Kellyanne Conway Unplugged. Thanks very much for sitting down with us here in New York.
All right, to the White House right now. The president is discussing his budget right now. You might recall that in his address to a joint session to Congress last week, he had talked up the possibility of adding $54 billion to the defense budget, and he would pay for that by cutting the budget at the State Department and the Environmental Protection Agency. Something that was at the time a little bit of news to the new incoming administrator, Scott Pruitt. I don't know what success he's had maybe changing the president's mind on that. He joins us out of Houston right now, a big energy confab going there. There is a bit of a delay, sound delay here with the secretary, so I don't want to surprise you with that, or the EPA administrator. So, sir, well, good to have you. Thank you for coming.
Good to be with you, Neil.
Okay, maybe more than I thought, that delay. Administrator, the president wants to cut your budget. How have you been responding to that?
Look, the president has set, I think, very important priorities as far as defense and homeland security, law enforcement, and so I think all agencies across the federal government are going to have to prioritize within their mission to help make sure that we fund those other activities appropriately. And Neil, I think that as we look at our priorities as an agency, looking at those regions across the country, how we can do a better job partnering with the states to help save money as we protect the air and the water in this country, is something we can do, and we'll do so in a way that makes sure that we protect that core mission and achieve good outcomes.
You said earlier that you want to address some of these new fuel standards that will be going into effect in stages and over the next few years. What did that mean? That you want to rescind them, delay them? What?
Well, Neil, as you know, the CAFE standards, as they're called, there was a midterm review that was supposed to take place in November of 2018. The last administration, on the eve of President Obama leaving the White House, that comment period closed at the end of December, and within 10 days, they issued their final statement with respect to those reviews. Unheard of as far as timing. Those weren't due until November of 2018. So what needs to be done is that we listen to those across the spectrum in industry, consumers, and others to make sure that those targets that have been set are properly evaluated and not hastened or accelerated to truncate the process. So there's going to be an announcement on that, I think, very, very soon. An important announcement about how we're going to address those CAFE standards. But for our perspective, process matters. The process was truncated, and it needs to be respected so that all voices are heard.
It sounds that they'll be at least extended or delayed.
I think that original timeline, Neil, of November of 2018 is an important timeline and one that should be respected.
Sir, you've also called into question the Paris Agreement. It was sort of a climate deal. Most of the big nations signed on to it. You questioned whether that was a valid deal, but it got people wondering, does the new EPA administrator believe that man is behind climate change and a warming Earth?
Well, Neil, the Paris discussion that occurred, there were things about that I think from a process perspective should be concerning to us all. One, it was an agreement that if it truly was enforceable and something that should be respected by all the nations that were participating, it should have been treated as a treaty and should have gone through the treaty process. It did not, as you know. But more importantly, in my view, it's right to have the discussion internationally, I believe. Secretary Tillerson and I've actually talked about that personally and privately. But what happened in Paris, Neil, was a bad deal for this country. You know, this country front-loaded its costs to address those CO2 targets that were established, while China and India backloaded their costs from 2030 and beyond. That's representative of not putting America first, and that's why I think it's important for us to make sure that as we go forward on that issue, that we put the domestic policy of this country at center, where we can find a pro-jobs, pro-growth agenda, while at the same time having a pro-environment focus as well.
So are you walking away from that agreement, sir?
Well, that's actually a State Department decision, Neil. That's not something the EPA was a signatory to.
If you had your brother's administrator, what would you do?
The State Department. I think that make sure that whatever discussions occur internationally respect the processes, that if agreements are made, that they go through the treaty process with the U.S. Senate, and secondly, that America first, the decisions made are in conjunction with other nations across the globe. China and India contribute to the CO2 issue much greater than this country as far as us finding the balance between our economy, jobs, and our CO2 footprint, as you know, is actually at pre-1994 levels. That's largely because of the conversion to natural gas and the innovation of hydraulic fracturing and horizontal drilling. So we do it better than anybody in the world as far as finding that balance, Neil. To go to Paris or another location, engage in international discussion and not recognize that and put America second behind China and India as far as finding that balance is not the right approach.
Finally, sir, and I apologize again for this delay. It must be exasperating for you as it is for me. But do you look at the warming Earth or whatever? Because I think you're on record as saying you see the data, you see the Earth warming up. You just question whether man has had a role in that. Am I assessing your position accurately that you have doubts?
It's not a question about whether human activity impacts global warming. Yeah, it's not a question, and the delay is something challenging here, Neil, but it's not a delay. It's not an issue about whether man is contributing in some way to global warming. It's measuring with precision the amount of human activity. There are many causes that contribute to global warming, and I think that as we look at that issue, we need to recognize that measuring it with precision is very challenging. But at the same time, Neil, it's also important to ask the question, does the EPA have the tools in the toolbox to address that issue, even if that is, quote unquote, something that we get beyond the debate about how much man contributes to it. You know, Congress has never spoken on this issue. You have a Supreme Court decision in 2007. You have an endangerment finding in 2009. There's not been a legislative response at making sure that the EPA is actually equipped to respond to this statutorily. That's something that can't be dismissed, and something needs to be discussed as we go forward.
Finally, sir, you talked about the tools to address this. Well, environmentalists are concerned that if your boss, the president, wants to cut your budget, you will have fewer tools to do just that. And they're worried about that. What do you tell them?
Well, look, I mean, the core mission of the agency of protecting our land, air, and water is going to happen. You know, the EPA is very instrumental in supporting water infrastructure across this country. That's very important. The Superfund sites, the brownfield programs that we see that have created revitalization in certain cities and urban markets across the country has been a tremendous success. We have much opportunity, attainment issues, Neil, to improve our attainment under those criteria pollutants under Title I. All those things are important for us to do as a country, and we will do those things. At the same time that we do those, we're going to strike the balance between a pro-growth agenda and a pro-environment agenda. We can do that. We've done it historically, and we can do it again.
All right. Administrator, thank you very, very much. We appreciate taking the time. My apologies again for our audio issue.
President Trump has created a new office in the Department of Homeland Security for the sake of tracking crime committed by illegal immigrants here. Well, today, White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer reiterated that halting illegal immigration is a top priority for the new president. Watch.
He has made enforcing our nation's immigration laws a top priority, signing executive orders that start work on a southern border wall, that enhance the public safety of Americans through ordering the strong enforcement of immigration laws that are already on the books, halting funding to jurisdictions in the United States that don't comply with federal immigration rules, and directing the Department of Homeland Security to hire a combined 15,000 new officers and agents to support the system and protect the nation.
What a waste of time, said the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Associated Press, and virtually everyone else in Washington. Illegal immigrants, they tell us, commit far fewer crimes than native-born Americans do. Ann Coulter is an author. She spent a lot of time researching this matter, and she says the Times, the Post, and the rest of the press are totally full of it. She joins us now. Ann, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
So you are routinely described as a provocateur, but at least on this subject, you're legitimately an expert. You wrote an entire book on this, and there was a lot of original reporting in it. I read it. A lot of other people did. They can vouch for that. So on this specific question, immigrant crime, the Times told us again and again, that's not true, they commit less crimes. What is the fact? What are the numbers on this?
I have all the numbers we have. There aren't very many, and I do think it's quite telling that it's always my side that wants the real numbers, and I hope we'll get them under Attorney General Sessions. I do think that is the entire reason for this hysteria. They absolutely want to take Sessions out because they want to keep this dump of the third world going on America. It's not just that, and there's a lot of evidence that immigrants do commit more crime. Otherwise, I don't think the left would be so hysterical about why are you deporting? Oh, if it's just a small crime. Well, I don't know. How many small crimes have you committed? And these are guests in our country, but it's also the kind of crimes they're committing. So, I mean, one thing that's been driving me crazy is hearing Paul Ryan. I mean, his specialty is we got to reform entitlements, and that means you Americans, you're going to have to wait longer to collect your Social Security and Medicare, and we're going to have to means test it. So maybe you've been paying in your whole life, but and it's true it is a Ponzi scheme, but I have another idea, and that is to stop bringing in immigrants whose specialty is committing crimes against our entitlements programs. I was trying to capture this for my book, Adios America. I mean, just start noticing whenever you see a headline. There was one last year, $1 billion stolen from Medicare in Florida. Look at the names and see ask yourself, would I have seen these in a phone book in America, 20 years ago? Up in Michigan, it's very heavily Arab. Florida, heavily Hispanic. New York, well, all over. It's Arab, Russian. These aren't crimes we are used to. American criminals are dumb, which gives the police a little bit of an advantage, but they don't understand that in other cultures, it isn't just dumb people who are criminals. And there's a specialty in computer hacking and credit card stealing and ripping off government programs, which it's barely even considered a crime.
But these numbers shouldn't be hard to get because people who are processed through the system, who are arrested, adjudicated, imprisoned, we ought to have numbers on where they're from, what their legal residency is, what their nationality is. Do we have those numbers? They must exist somewhere.
No, they don't. No, it drove me crazy. That's how Adios America became Adios America. Immigration was going to be just one part of that book. I'd already drafted a few chapters for the book I originally was going to write, which I still think is a great idea for a book. Maybe I'll write it someday. And I got to the immigrant crime part because I thought, isn't that the most basic thing we should know about people we're bringing into our country, people who have no right to be here? Forget about, how much they're contributing to the system or how much they're taking out in welfare. Just how many are committing crimes, what kind of crimes, how much does that cost the country? And I'm a fanatical researcher, and you cannot get that information. Every time I describe the process of what you find when you go looking for it. The census collects all kinds of information. I can tell you, how many Samoans have battery-powered radios, how many Americans have broken stair railings. But if you want to find out how many immigrants are in prison, state or federal, good luck to you.
So, then clearly this is willful and it's in effect a cover-up. It's what's happening in Sweden right now, where the government makes it a policy to lie about the effect of their immigration policy.
Yes, that's right. And it's not just that we are bringing in criminals. You'll always hear, even if it were true that immigrants, and I mean legal and illegal, were committing fewer crimes, no, the number we want is 0. We want 0. It's not like we don't want the same number of criminals as the native population. It's crazy. As I said, it's like, you have bad food in your refrigerator. You don't go out and get other bad food to bring in. No, you can pick any food you want. Get the fresh food. Well, that's us with immigration. Let's get only good immigrants who are smarter, make more money. We ought to be like the Patriots, recruiting players.
Well, exactly. So the other stat that you often see batted down by the New York Times and others is that immigrants consume a lot of welfare benefits. And so the line you often read is actually immigrants, legal and illegal, consume welfare at a lower rate than native-born Americans. Is that true?
No, what they do is define only certain programs as welfare, or there are other tricks. There are all kinds of lies that are used when it comes to the immigration topic, but one interesting little fact is the 1996 Welfare Reform Bill. As part of that bill, I was working for the Senate Judiciary Committee back then. One of the provisions was immigrants could not collect welfare for the first 5 years they were here. And, across America, people were saying, that's not already the law? No. They were very upset about it at the New York Times, denounced that provision over and over again. That provision, welfare, you can't accept welfare for the first 5 years you're here if you're a guest in our country, was the biggest cost savings of welfare reform. And it's all been overturned by now, by the way. Thank you.
Well, and that's the question. So there's no factual basis to the claim that immigrants consume welfare at a lower rate than Americans.
No, it's quite the opposite. Center for Immigration Studies has the numbers. I think generally what they're talking about is what used to be called aid to mothers with dependent children. There's one particular, one particular, if you would define all other forms of welfare, subsidized housing, Section 8, food stamps, free health care, if none of that, or Social Security disability, if none of that is called welfare, so they're looking at one program, and also, B, if an illegal alien drops a baby in America, well, that's not an illegal immigrant. It's maybe an immigrant. But suddenly the baby is allegedly an American citizen, something no Congress has ever passed that law. No court has ever upheld that. A child born in America is not a citizen, and I hope Trump starts enforcing what the real law is.
And culture. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
By the end of this month, Republican leaders want to bring their bill to the House floor to repeal and replace Obamacare. But the Trump administration is struggling to win over some conservative members who call the plan Obamacare light. Joining me now from Ohio, Congressman Jim Jordan, a founding member of the House Freedom Caucus, some 40 conservative lawmakers who could be the biggest obstacle to passing the legislation. Congressman, you've called for using the budget reconciliation plan to pass a clean repeal of Obamacare. The problem is then you're going to need 60 votes to do a lot of the things that the Obamacare repeal and replace plan does to maintain health care coverage for some of the millions of people in danger of losing it. Wouldn't you create chaos for a lot of those people?
No, the effective date for that is 2 years out. It's the same thing we put on then President Obama's desk, Chris. Why not put that on President Trump's desk? We think it'll get a different outcome. We believe President Trump will sign it. Understand the Speaker's plan doesn't repeal Obamacare. Even Charles Krauthammer said that, called it Obamacare light, as you said earlier. It doesn't bring down premiums, and it doesn't unite Republicans. So why not do what we all voted for just 15 months ago, clean repeal, and then get focused and build some momentum to actually replace Obamacare with something that's going to bring down costs.
But I don't have to tell you, the problem is that you can repeal Obamacare under this plan with 51 votes because it's part of budget reconciliation. Now, if you're going to replace it, you're going to be doing that needing 60 votes, 8 Democrats, and you're not going to get them.
Yeah, and the Speaker's plan is the same thing. It talks about things we have to do in phase 3 that you're going to need more votes for. And if we want to put more in this first reconciliation bill, actually get after the insurance regulations that we think are driving up the cost for working class families and middle class families, then let's do that, and we can challenge the Senate and take that to the Senate and maybe have a ruling with the parliamentarian there. But we can do it that way as well. The key is let's do what we told the voters we were going to do. Let's repeal Obamacare, not create some different form of Obamacare.
Yeah, but so I was going to ask you, one of the other things you're talking about doing, basically blowing up the Senate rules. To do what?
To actually repeal Obamacare. And right now, everyone knows the insurance regulations, all the mandated coverage that are in there that drive up the cost for everyone. Those have to be dealt with if we're ultimately going to bring down the cost for working class families, middle class families. And if we can put that in this bill and get over there, you may have a parliamentary ruling on it, but I think we could win that as well and use that strategy to actually repeal and replace it with something that's going to be helpful.
But Congressman, here's the problem. If you blow up the Senate rules and you basically say you can pass almost anything under reconciliation with 51 votes, then you're ending the filibuster. You're saying a majority can do anything they want. Back in 2009, there was a simple majority, but not a filibuster-proof majority of Democrats who wanted universal health care, and they couldn't do it because they couldn't get the 60 votes to do that. So that's one problem with it. If you blow up the rules, yes, it'll work for you now, but when the Democrats come back in, and they will eventually, then they can do anything they want by 51 votes. And the other thing, and I don't mean to be harsh about this, is I've talked to some senators who say they don't want a congressman telling them how to run their chamber.
That's fine. Valid point, Chris. What I do know is what we told the American people. And we told them we were going to repeal Obamacare and replace it with something that's going to bring down the cost of insurance. That's what we told them. This legislation that the Speaker's brought forward doesn't do that. We didn't tell the American people we were going to repeal Obamacare but keep some of the taxes in there. We didn't tell the American people we were going to repeal Obamacare and take the Medicaid expansion and extend it. We didn't tell them we were going to repeal Obamacare and get rid of the mandate but yet bring back this 30% penalty that's in the bill. We didn't tell them we were going to have this insurance subsidy in the bill either. So let's do what we said. Right now, the thing that should unite us is what we all voted on before. I mean, every Republican 15 months ago voted for the clean repeal. Why is it okay to say at campaign time, we're going to do this, and then once you get in office, oh, wait a minute, we got to change what we told the voters we're going to do? I don't think that's why they sent us here. So let's pass that, and then let's move on to do the other things we have to do to fix this.
Look, this is clearly going to be a negotiation between you and House and Senate Republicans and the White House. And part of the problem is that different House members, different conservatives, frankly, in your caucus, have different wish lists. And the question I have is, has the House Freedom Caucus come down with a final wish list, what you can live with and what you can't live with?
I think you first got to start here, Chris. There's a reason why every single major conservative group in the country is opposed to the Speaker's plan. There's a reason why so many conservative healthcare experts are opposed to the plan. There's a reason why 5 conservative senators are opposed to the plan, and there's a reason why conservatives in the House are also opposed to the plan.
But, sir, you're not answering my question.
It doesn't solve the problem.
Have you got a final wish list of the things that you drop dead? We cannot accept this in the plan.
We're working on that. The president's been very clear that he wants negotiation. They're open to change. Your previous guest just talked about they're open to changes. We're working on that. We're going to be at the White House on Tuesday. We're open. We're looking at those issues that we think can make this bill consistent with what we told the American people we were going to do.
Well, let's talk about a couple of the sticking points for you and other conservatives in the so-called Paul Ryan bill. One of them is the refundable tax credits, which you call a new entitlement and a substitute for subsidies. But other conservatives and Tom Price, the Secretary of Health and Human Services, say, look, people who get their health insurance on the job get a tax break because that benefit is not taxed. This is just treating people who buy health insurance on the individual market the same way. It's a level playing field.
Fair enough, Chris, and we've been fine with tax credits. Our concern is you want to give tax credits to people who actually have a tax liability. If you don't, it's nothing more than a subsidy. What we really are focused on is we want to bring back affordable insurance. Not just have some subsidy for the government to buy some plan that the government approves, not to put more people on Medicaid, but to actually have those working class families be able to shop for a plan, an affordable plan, that meets their family's needs. That's a much better option than signing people up for a government-type program. So that's what we're focused on accomplishing.
Well, all right. Before we get into that, let me ask you about another aspect of the repeal and replace plan, which is Medicaid expansion. Now, the White House and Paul Ryan are talking about phasing that out, the expansion that has allowed millions, 11 million people to get health insurance who didn't have it before Obamacare. They're talking about phasing that out by 2020. You want to end it right away. Isn't that going to create chaos and throw millions of people off health insurance?
Chris, the plan we passed that every Republican supported last Congress said there's a 2-year effective date. So you would repeal Obamacare, but there's still 2 years transition time. Everyone knows you need a transition time to bring back a marketplace. So again, I don't view success as keeping Americans on Medicaid. I view success as bringing down the cost of insurance so families can pick the plan that fits their needs. That's what we're doing. We have a 2-year transition time for that. And again, remember what we told the voters. We said we were going to repeal Obamacare, not keep Medicaid expansion around forever. We said we were going to repeal it. So let's do that. Let's be consistent with what we told the American people we were going to accomplish when they sent us here to Washington.
Here is what House Republican Speaker Ryan says is the bottom line. Even if it doesn't meet all of your demands, he says that this plan, this repeal and replace plan, is a lot better than continuing with Obamacare. And he points out these measures in the plan of what it'll do. It would end the individual and employer mandates. It would expand health savings accounts, make it possible for people to put more money into the HSAs, and it would create a path to turn the Medicaid entitlement into a block grant to states. If you block this plan, are you willing to blow up, repeal and replace, something that, as you point out, Republicans have been promising for 7 years? Are you prepared to deliver what could be a death blow, certainly a very serious blow, to the early days of the Trump presidency? I mean, are you willing, bottom line, to vote no on the Ryan plan and to block Obamacare repeal and replace this year?
Chris, it's not, as the Speaker said, it's not a binary choice. That's not how the legislative process works. This idea that they had the bill hidden away, introduced it 5 days ago, and you got to take it or leave it, that's not how American democracy works. I represent 750,000 people, as do all other members. We'd like a chance to amend it, change it, and make it consistent with the message we told the voters we were going to accomplish. And it seems to me...
And if I may just briefly, because we're running out of time, what about those moderate members, but moderate Republicans, particularly in the Senate, who are saying this goes too far, they're scared of what this is, and that you've got Ryan and those folks trying to thread a needle here to satisfy the right wing, but also to satisfy the center.
Chris, they all just voted for it a few months ago, the clean repeal that we introduced this week. So it's okay to say I voted for it during campaign time, but now when it counts, you can't do it? Seems to me if the binary choice, if there is one here, is to say, look, either work with all the folks in the conservative movement, all the Republicans around the country who say this plan is not what we need to do. Either work with us or you don't end up getting the votes. That's the real choice here. So I hope they'll work with us. I hope they'll have the same, I hope the Speaker and our leadership will have the same attitude the White House does, which is let's work together and find a plan that works for the American people and that is consistent with what we told them we were going to do when they gave us the privilege to serve.
Bottom line, if this is the plan that you have to vote on the House floor, where will you vote? What will you vote?
I don't plan for voting for the plan as introduced by the Speaker and what went through the committees this week. Again, went through the committees. Not one single amendment was allowed to be offered. That's not how the process is supposed to work.
So you'll vote no on this plan?
I'm not for this plan, and I think there's lots of opposition to this plan in the House and the Senate.
Congressman Jordan, thank you. Thanks for joining us. It's always good to talk with you, sir.
Thank you.
Opposition from some conservatives over Republicans, their new health care plan. It's not letting up. And now some are wondering about the impact it could have on the Trump presidency. Republican Senator Rand Paul is one of the most vocal critics. He says the fight is not about the president.
When you say, look, it's not a binary choice, you don't have my vote, Mr. Speaker, right? You might imperil the Trump presidency.
Well, no, not at all.
Well,
I'm a big friend of the president.
But this may come crashing down.
And also, you won't meet anybody who dislikes Obamacare more than me. I'm a physician. I have lived Obamacare. It is a disaster.
All right, let's talk about it with Dana Lash, a nationally syndicated radio talk show host. Good to see you, Dana.
Nice to see you, Shannon. Thanks for having me.
You had a bit of a Twitter storm. You've been letting us know how you feel about this bill and how it's going down, and saying basically you think that the Republicans are risking the midterms in 2018 if they don't get this right. How much danger is there?
I do. I think there's a lot of danger there, Shannon. And I want to reiterate, too, what Senator Paul said. But I want to take it a step further. I think it's an insult. It's an insult to the American people, and it's an insult to the Trump administration for Republicans, congressional Republicans, to deliver this bill to his desk. They are the ones who are endangering this new administration, and I can't bold, italicize, underline that anymore. In 2015, Jim Jordan had a fantastic bill that went way further than anything that this bill's doing, and it actually lowered prices instead of increasing prices, which is what this Obamacare 2.0 bill does. And I don't know why, for the life of me, they will not go back to that because it was already on the floor. This is a swamp monster. If people are going to talk about draining the swamp, this is literally the creature from the Black Lagoon, this Obamacare 2.0 bill. The exact Obamacare regulatory structure is still in place. The penalty that must be paid to insurance companies is there. And for all of the awful things that were in Obamacare, one at least wise thing that Democrats did was include some cost controls, albeit nobody liked the method in which they did it. But now in this Obamacare 2.0 bill, Republicans did away with all of that. So it could actually end up costing exponentially more than what the original Obamacare bill did, Shannon. And I think, this isn't about President Trump. And I think there's a lot of great things that he's done just in his first month in office. But for Republicans to deliver something like this to his desk, I'll just say it. It's a giant middle finger to America. It's a giant middle finger to this Trump administration. And we did not protest in the streets for 8 years to get Obamacare light. And so they better think long and hard before they try to walk something like this up to the Resolute desk.
All right. Well, it is there currently. Senator Rand Paul has said that he thinks Speaker Paul Ryan is, quote, pulling the wool over the president's eyes about the bill, how well it's doing, about how much support it has. But this president is a negotiator. He is a businessman. He is used to playing this game. And he has talked a lot about, he's used the word specifically, negotiate. So do you think he knows, listen, we're going to come in with this project. They've worked really hard on it, but I am open to negotiating. This is not going to be the final product. Are you confident that there will be influence by those who, they hold the votes in their hands because the House GOP can't lose more than 21 and still get this thing moving? So do you think, listen, the president is smart enough to know there's going to be some give and take before this thing actually gets to the floor?
Right. Well, I've never had faith in D.C., Shannon, but one thing that I think that we do have faith in is I think Trump has proven himself to be a really good negotiator. And I think it's kind of insulting to the president's intelligence for anybody in Congress to say, oh, well, we're just pulling the wool over his eyes. I mean, for crying out loud, he's been more successful than some of these people in Congress, so let's not talk down to him. But when I look at this, I hope that he comes and negotiates. He's a negotiator on behalf of the American people right now, and he's on our side, and he needs to make sure that this is negotiated better. We don't don't have this penalty. I mean, without the individual mandate, we're still paying a penalty to the insurance companies. We still have subsidies in this. It's still the same regulatory structure, and we're concerned about the out-of-control spending that's going to be in this bill. There are so many other better alternatives. I don't know why they chose to jump on this landmine. So I would love, I mean, look, I'm kittens and sunshine. I would love to see a negotiation take place. I would love to see something better for the American people. Because, and I'll tell you this too, Shannon, there is an alternative, and I think that Trump has another card here. He could say, you know what, don't do anything, which actually I think congressional Republicans should not do anything in place of doing this, because Obamacare is going to fail. It's already failing. Yeah, we're seeing insurance companies leave. Different markets in different states are crashing. It's not working. If Obamacare fails, Democrats own it. But right now, Republicans are trying to assume ownership of this. Trump has already said, well, you know what, you could let it fail, and they could. So I think he has a plan B.
All right, we're going to get cut off. But Dana, always good to hear from you. We got to leave it there. Thank you.
Welcome back to Hannity. You know Samantha Bee, the host of Full Frontal on TBS. She was forced to apologize after mocking the hair of a CPAC attendee. Watch this.
This year, the bow ties were gone, replaced by Nazi hair. Nazi hair, Nazi hair.
Nazi hair, Nazi hair. Well, it turns out that one of the people that Bee is making fun of, Kyle Coddington, well, has hair like that because he has stage 4 terminal brain cancer. Now, Bee did finally apologize to Kyle, but here's what he said on Fox and Friends earlier this morning.
The effects of this go much further than just insulting me and the illness itself. It's just inconsiderate and very unprofessional to, you know, lump together anyone with a certain hairstyle or just the way they look.
Here with reaction, the host of Tommy on the Blaze, Tommy Lahren, and Democratic strategist Jessica Tarlov. You're too nice. You're not going to support this. Yeah, I know you for too long a period of time.
Who would support this? I mean, she did the right thing, obviously, in apologizing, and she donated to his GoFundMe page.
Okay, great. But there's a bigger issue here, is that the names, the vitriol, the hate, the outbursts from Madonna to wanting to blow up the White House and the insanity of Ashley Judd and all the snowflakes, it's really gotten out of hand. And I don't hear people on your side saying, guys, you're making us look dumb and stupid. Knock it off.
I think I have said that, even maybe on your program.
You're saying Democrats are dumb and stupid.
No, I don't think I'm saying that.
You're saying the snowflakes are.
Some snowflakes. I personally don't consider myself a snowflake. I wear black all the time, too. But what I would say is that, yes, liberals shouldn't do this. This is also, a trademark of comedians, that they make fun of people's physical appearances. She did the right thing. Now I would also like an apology from Alex Jones for talking about Michelle Obama, calling her a, quote, tranny. Mark Dice, who said during the DNC, oh, look, we have a transgendered speaker.
Who's Mark Dice?
He's a conservative web host. Donald Trump, mocking a disabled reporter. Alicia Machado, Miss Piggy. You don't know Donald Trump?
You know, I do know these people, but my question for Jessica would be, and this is just an honest question I want to know, do you think that this was a conservative host, even a conservative comedian host, do you think that the left would have called for them to step down, called for them to resign?
Step down from
not
what?
Whether you
from
think
her show on TBS?
Yes. Do you think that the left would have asked a conservative host to stand down or to be fired?
Well, if a conservative host had said to stand down every day.
No, Jessica, that's not my question. Do you think that the left would have asked a conservative host to be fired if they had made these comments?
I think that I'm not really understanding it. Would the left have asked Alex Jones, when he called Michelle Obama a, quote, tranny, to stand down? Yes.
I'm asking
Tommy, let me see if I can jump in. Because what Tommy's pointing out is a real clear present danger for all conservatives. There are groups that monitor, and I know who they are, in their underwear, total losers in life, that monitor 3 hours of my radio show, an hour of TV, in the hopes that I say one word, one phrase, one sentence wrong, no chance to apologize, even if it was an honest mistake, in the hopes that they can target my advertisers and silence us. Tommy, is that what you're suggesting here?
That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying I don't think that Samantha Bee should be fired. I think she made a mistake. I think that she apologized for it, and that's wonderful. I'm saying the hypocrisy of the left. Because if this would have been a conservative host, oh my goodness.
But so I did understand your question. I named, when I started, a bunch of conservatives who have said awful things, including the President of the United States of America, who called Alicia Machado Miss Piggy, who said Carly Fiorina, look at that face. I mean, crooked Hillary, even. We're talking about a candidate for President of the United States.
But does the left have the same outrage about this?
There was outrage about it. There are a lot of people who don't like Dan Savage's comments as well. I'm one of them. If you are someone who defends people who have been bullied, do not bully. The language is unacceptable. I'm asking
Can I just stop with this thing? Look, we're all full of crap. Everyone that acts like they're so outraged and hurt by words, baloney. No word ever hurt me in my life. And by the way, Jessica,
I wish
you
I
can
was
Google.
as tough as you.
You can Google. I've been called. Tommy's been called.
Me
Every
too.
name in the book. Probably
Look at my
Tommy's even had it
Twitter
worse
feed.
than me in the last year. I'm not offended by what they call me or what anybody says on a radio or TV show. Well, not this show. Turn the dial any other show.
No, I agree. Words don't hurt me either. I'm more concerned about that individual who's a private citizen who had his hair made fun of. It probably didn't make him feel too good at the end of the day. But again, I don't think this is about words and how words hurt. I think this is about throwing around the terms Nazi and fascist, because those are pretty heavy labels to throw around. And those on the left, and even comedians on the left, like to throw those terms around a lot. Samantha Bee, Whoopi Goldberg, the list goes on. They like to call Trump supporters Nazis a lot. I don't think that's appropriate. I think it's reckless as well.
I agree with you, and I've never thrown that term around. I would say, though, that her comment came from the fact that Richard Spencer, who... that's where that haircut issue comes
from. I'm not a conservative. I don't even know half the people you're talking about.
Yes, you do. You don't know who Alex Jones is. You don't know who Donald Trump is.
I'm not sitting there monitoring. I'm not the PC police giving a rip what anybody says. Who cares? Who cares?
I care, and millions of Americans care.
Well, you know what?
We're all snowflakes.
We're going to have to get a little tougher, because it sounds pathetic that, except in the case of you have cancer, leave the cancer people alone, leave the kids alone.
What about the disabled
Say anything they want about you, me, Tommy, or anybody else.
Totally. I mean, we're fair game. We're up here, and we have to be willing to take it, and I absolutely will.
I can take it. I can take a punch.
Host Samantha Bee forced to apologize yesterday after taking a segment on CPAC attendees one step too far. Watch this.
This year, the bow ties were gone, replaced by Nazi hair. Nazi hair, Nazi hair.
Many steps too far. Well, it turns out one of those attendees she mocked for having a Nazi haircut is actually undergoing treatment for stage 4 brain cancer.
That young man, screen left right there, is Kyle Coddington. He joins us now via Skype from down in Florida. Kyle, good morning to you.
Morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so explain to us, the impact, them saying you had Nazi hair. Tell us about the impact on your life.
Well, it's been an interesting past 24 hours for sure, but I was definitely shocked at first when I found out about it. I was actually in bed, and one of my Facebook friends messaged me a screenshot of the TV show because they were watching it, and they said, "Oh, she's making fun of you for having Nazi hair." And so I sent the screenshot to my mom, who sent it to my sister in the morning, and then my sister's the one that tweeted it, and it's the one that got all of this started.
Mm-hmm. Kyle, tell us about what you're facing. What are you up against, and that led to that haircut?
It's called, the cancer I have is called glioblastoma. It's a rare aggressive type of cancer. Currently there's no cure for it. It's terminal, but right now I just recently finished my first round of treatment, which was the radiation and chemo. And I'm in between treatments. I start my next round on March 20th, which is a different type of chemo. But just because there's no cure for it doesn't mean that it's not fightable.
Yep.
Medicine has come a long way with this type of cancer, so now people are fighting it much longer than they were. And basically, I'm doing my best at fighting it day by day.
Yeah, well, doctors are not God. We're all keeping you in our prayers. Did you hear from Samantha Bee?
I personally have not. The only thing that was done was the tweet where she apologized, and then the TV show, and then they did donate $1,000 to the GoFundMe, which I am thankful for.
Yeah, well, that's nice. She tweeted, "We deeply apologize for offending you, and that, Kyle, we only learned of your condition today and have removed you from the piece," is what it said. Do you, is that a real apology? Because a lot of people online are saying that's no apology. That's barely a half apology.
I'd say that it is kind of a half apology. I would say
the effects of this go much further than just insulting me and the illness itself. It's just inconsiderate and very unprofessional to, you know, lump together anyone with a certain hairstyle or just the way they look. Like I said, it's unprofessional, it's inconsiderate, and it goes beyond me. I'm sure there are people.
You were there. You were there covering CPAC, and they lump you in. Why do they say Nazi haircut? Why do they use that word?
I'm not exactly sure. I really don't know. I don't know if Nazis, you know, had hairstyles like this. I'm not sure.
Or is it because
I was trying to look up, you know, old pictures of Nazis, but
I wonder if she would have called you that if she knew you were a registered Democrat. Why were you at CPAC as a Democrat?
Actually, I've always wanted to go to CPAC. I've tried the past several years, couldn't go. Mm-hmm. But I personally identify as a moderate when it comes to politics, and I actually got to go to CPAC this year because I write for a magazine called Outset, and so I was actually a member of the press, which is another thing that surprised me. Was in the show, during the segment, they were filming just the crowd, they were filming the media section, which kind of surprised me as well.
Kyle, you have your goal for GoFundMe was $2,500. You have close to $20,000 on there now. And since we've been talking about this, all of our viewers have gone on there and help increase that just in the last hour or 2 hours that we've been on the show, basically. What's your message to folks? I just want to ask you this because to hear that news at such a young age has to be difficult. What's your message to all of us who maybe take our lives for granted and all the blessings?
Really, first of all, I just want to thank everyone for donating. It's absolutely amazing. I'm still shocked. But basically my message is to stay positive no matter what. That's the main thing. You have to stay positive. You have to fight it. You can't give up. I'm a religious person. I believe in God. And so, I pray every day that God gives me peace about my diagnosis, and He does, so I don't really worry about it. But again, really my message is to stay positive for those that have this diagnosis, for those that really have any diagnosis, cancer or whatever. Just stay positive, fight, never give up, because really that's the worst thing you can do. There's always a chance, no matter what the doctors say, no matter what people say, there's always a chance.
Yeah. Well, you certainly are in our prayers. We know you have a second round of chemo coming up on March 20th. Thank you very much for joining us today, and God bless you.
God bless you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And if you want to support Kyle, you can go, obviously, to the GoFundMe page for Kyle Coddington or on our Fox and Friends.
Yeah, go to foxandfriends.com.
Thank you for coming out. Good night. Once again, coming to you live and direct from the land of hip-hop is yours truly, the one called Melodic. Another global collaboration on the station. Lyrically and musically is this reliable verbal magician. My mental condition that I possess will relieve your stress. I make it easy, so pass the Hennessy. On time like a clock from Seiko. Pay me in coins or bills or even pesos. On the line parallel to the soul. Rhymes are in shape and on foot patrol. It's misunderstood, better yet out of line. For you to proclaim you're the best of all time. There's only one best, he rests up above. Fly free like wings on a dove. Never hold your tongue but be respectful. End up saying things that are regrettable. Dismiss and overshadow the nonsense. Leave the hip-hop crowd in suspense. Open your eyes so you can see. Right now you're in the place to be. Whether in your car or in your home. Melodic's on the microphone. Open your eyes so you can see. Right now you're in the place to be. Whether in your car or in your home. home. Melodics on the microphone. Your flow is at the maximum, no room left. Design new techniques to pump in the streets. I overflow with styles and metaphors. The next thing I say is better than before. Do you want more? Like the Roots, the song is in pursuit of your soul, never paying a toll on your bodily functions. There's no confusion. Your defeat is never an illusion. Start out with your fingers snapping, head start to bob and your hands start clapping. As my vocals expand, I demand all your attention. No time for flinching, no misconception will be transmitted. Those without soul would never be admitted. Never was the one to boast and brag. Melodic is the soul that you got to have. Open your eyes so you can see. Right now you're in the place to be, whether in your car or in your home. Melodics on the microphone. Open your eyes so you can see. Right now you're in the place to be, whether in your car or in your home. Melodics on the microphone. If you're looking for a time and place for setting it straight, right now is the time. Along with the rhyme, the beat is so soulful. Peace to Vince Seal for keeping it real. Now let me reveal what's on the horizon. Flow so fluid, call me Poseidon. Never see conflict, battle it when it comes on tap. From front to back, never taking any slack from the naysayers. Totally immerse the funk soul creators. 30 is the new 20, close to the middle as I bake on the griddle. Cooking each side so evenly, hip-hop and soul is in control. No need for LASIK surgery, you can see the place to be. Open your eyes so you can see. Right now you're in the place to be, whether in your car or in your home. Melodics on the microphone. Open your eyes so you can see. Right now you're in the place to be, whether in your car or in your home. Melodics on the microphone. Open your eyes so you can see. Right now you're in the place to be, whether in your car or in your home. Melodics on the microphone. Open your eyes so you can see. Right now you're in the place to be, whether in your car or in your home. Melodics on the microphone.